Hello ladies, I hope you're all doing well in your current circumstances and that you have great plans for its improvement. I'm Lydia Ruth. Welcome to Homemaking Radio. I hope you get a few things done today while you listen. Congratulations for clicking that on and coming here, and I hope that you don't have to stop too much to look at anything. I will start out by saying please click the link in the description below the channel and go to the place where I have embedded this video, because there will be all the links I talked about, or maybe pictures of the books that I mentioned, or other things that you might like to see around the manse. And so let's get started, shall we? And so to begin with, I just wanted to start out by saying that's a double positive. I want to begin by saying that we need to take frequent appreciation breaks. You've all heard of a tea break. You've all heard of a work break. But let's have some appreciation breaks. I have been constantly stopping to appreciate and thank God for the fact that even though we are in a severe ice storm all across the United States and Canada, that I still have electricity. It went off once, but it came back on. They fixed the transformers. They finally figured out how to keep it on. And less work for the linemen, less work in this terrible cold weather. And I take frequent appreciation breaks. I'd like you to do that too. Let's have an appreciation moment and stop and appreciate something. Your heat, your lights. Even if you're in hot Australia, you sure don't want to lose your power or your water. And so far I have that all. My washing machine does not work. One of my grandsons ordered a part for it and is going to fix it for me. In the meantime, we are being careful not to let too much laundry pile up, and we're doing the best we can under these circumstances. And so let's have an appreciation break. Let's put the world behind us for an hour or however long I speak to you. And also, I think that I have attended many Women's Day, whatever they call it, Women's Day sessions where women from all over come to a certain church for a day where they sing and where they have a wonderful meal together, or where they have a nice lesson presented by someone. But I became increasingly uncomfortable with leaving my family for that long and to go that much of a distance, and began to be concerned about the other ladies who had to find a place for their children, or sometimes the event would provide childcare. But I didn't, as I became more and more interested in homeschooling and more engrossed in it, I discovered that we needed to share our lives with our children. So where we went, often they went. When I had an anniversary, I taught my children how to decorate for an anniversary, how to make a present, and how to make a cake, and how to, set a table, and how to take the pictures and participate in our lives, participate in our date night. And also, I wanted the children to participate in the things that I did. And if I went to one of these events, I wanted my children to go too. So this kind of presentation affords anyone to come and still stay with their families in their warm houses without great expense and without neglecting your home. You can listen as you go. There will be a few things to see today, and I don't like to do too much show and tell because you have to stop and peer at everything and look. But today I wanted to just share a couple of things because they were on my mind, and I thought, well, that might be nice to show. And so the first thing I want to do is show you, I told you I was through with winter. Well, it wasn't through with us. It came with a vengeance. It came like a snake, and it's just, we're covered with it. Mr. S is not allowed to even open the door, and I don't think he could. It's actually frozen shut. The doors on the cars are frozen shut. This is an ice storm. It looks like snow, but if you stepped out on the front stoop, you would fall because it's very deceptive. It's white, it looks fluffy, it's totally frozen. And So we have winter, and I have to accept it. But just before it all happened, I got the feeling when I was at a store that I should stock up a little bit. I don't know why, and I'm so glad I did. I have the ingredients to make things. And you know, we are all, if you have something to do, you may go and begin. I'll let you know when I'm ready to show you. You know, we're all concerned. We don't want to consume too much sugar or too much of the carbs, and we want to be really careful. But you know, you have to show some kind of sense in a snowstorm. And so I have begun making I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like a Welsh bread, has lots of raisins in it and chopped peel. And so I'm trying that. When my grandson was here, he comes for a few months at a time. I go through this international bread book, and I find different countries and different kinds of bread to make. And it's always so comforting in terrible weather. And then go on to the foods of that country, and we try to make the traditional foods. So that's been real interesting. And so I have some of that bread with all the raisins and things in it, and it's in the oven right now. Should be ready by the time I'm ready to quit talking. And ladies, I just appreciate you so much. If you weren't here, I wouldn't do this. I know this is for my descendants, but there's more motivation when there's actual people that are making comments. You can leave a comment over on the blog, because this is where the video will also be. I can't manage comments in too many places. My only social media is this, and I've got Pinterest, but we don't use that for communication. And if you want to click on the link on the left, the upper left of this blog, you will get to go to my Pinterest. And my current interest is cottagecore, everything. And core means heart. So when you see books written with that word on it, it just means heart. And so my current interest is that, and also I'm talking about how much social media I can handle. I have my text on my phone, and that's for my people and friends and close friends who want to text me. And so I don't have too much. And so today I wanted to talk to you about some interesting magazines. I ordered these because on the newsstand they're on the stand at the grocery store they're very expensive, but I got them from used, you know, and most people that respect books and magazines will send them, and they're like new. They're just like new. So the first one I saw it at the grocery store, but I sure did not want to pay the price. It was $16, and I wouldn't even pay that for a book. But anyway, I got somebody to send it to me that had already used it, and it's called Winter. And like I said, I was done with winter, but I decided to get this, and I'm so glad I did, because I had it gets dark early, and I really enjoyed looking at all the arrangements and the cheerfulness. And on the back of these Hoffman Media magazines, they put a decent picture. Do you remember when magazines, those of you who are vital, do you remember when magazines were just awful and they were full of ads you didn't even think were decent for your children to look at, and you wanted to have something nice on the coffee table? And well, now they're putting, and a lot of other companies that have magazines are adopting this style, where you could set this up on a little place in your house and just be as pretty as it could be. And this was full of warmth and brightness, which what I really liked was it also showed scenes of how to, this is called Essentials for Pantry Organization, and it's like what you would need, what kind of shelves and risers and labels and clear bins and containers and cord wraps and things like that. And so I enjoyed reading about that, because it's a nice time of year to redo all of that. And then it has a lot of flowers in it, and a lot of recipes, a lot of food, and a lot of French recipes this time. And so let me see. I wanted to show you something else. They have just a lot of brightness in it, which is what we need. A lot of winter magazines, unfortunately, just reflect the whiteness and the and the blandness around us. But anyway, food, yes, food. And you want to go check my Pinterest. I have what is it called? A subject is called Food, Beautiful Food. And if you want to check that out, that's over there. And then I have another one. This was called Tea Time. And even if you don't like tea, it has some delicious recipes for things that you just make little bites of things. I like to make just the little tiny hors d'oeuvre type things because you can just pick one up and you don't need to have serving utensils or eating utensils. And this one also, even though it had an ad on the back, ladies, it's a pretty ad. They were smart. They chose this was formerly by Victoria magazine. I think maybe it is. It's still Hoffman Media, but very smart for them in a winter like this to put something cheerful on, like that Simpson and Vale tea called Dessert Teas, and it's red velvet cupcake. Oh, wouldn't I like to have that? I'm sure our local stores don't provide it, but I liked the idea that if you turned it over and laid it on your coffee table, it's red, it's bright, it's beautiful, and there's nothing in it that you wouldn't want company or your whole family to see. Sometimes the magazines got pretty careless with their advertising things and also their articles. But this is just so pretty, and it also shows a lot of place settings. And if you're alone, if you're living alone, I think it's very good for your mind. At least it is for mine when I'm alone, is to go ahead and have a place setting and make everything really pretty and appreciate it. And I think appreciation should be a new subject in your life. Stop and appreciate something and thank God for it. It's all so wonderful. It makes the days that seem so hopeless become an answer to prayer. Now, this one here is the recent Victoria magazine, and it also is winterized. It's talking about winter, so it makes me cold when there's too much of this white. But they always have a beautiful opening page with a floral in it and shows what the features are. I mean, this magazine is got no bad news, and it's just very edifying. I am not sure what everyone believes, but they do a lot of photographs of old architecture too, which I like. Plus, of course, the florals. That's the first thing I look for. Is I flip through and look for the florals. I have a floral break, And then they have a lot of interesting ideas, and like I said, there's no rude advertising in it except for their own. They'll advertise their own stuff, their own teas, things like that. And then on the back, again, it's just an ad, but at least it's pretty. And it's just nice to have. And then the one that I ordered that cost on the newsstand that costs nearly $20. This is called the book that thinks it's a magazine. That's how they talk about it. And it's published by Stampington and Company. And it's called Bella Grace, and it's the cozy issue. Isn't that cute? I'm jealous that they thought of it. But that's just tongue-in-cheek. But look, it opens up, and there's a flower on the front page, and they treat it like a book with these end papers and pictures. And now it won't all be to your liking, but what I'll do is if there's a page that I don't agree with or I don't like, or for some reason it's not an activity that I admire, I'll cover it up with a different picture or something like that. But it has recipes for things you can make at home that help the home be more cozy. Stovetop scents, with the apples and things like that in it, and the things to do in winter, and just normal activities. And now I don't agree with everything that's in it, but I will keep it as a reference book, and it will be a book. I didn't pay as much for it as I would have on at the checkout because I ordered it. So like here's a cozy this or that, and they have here morning walks or stargazing, fleece or wool, a mug or a teacup, books or movies, coffee shops and diners. We don't have that here, but I am the coffee shop. I am the diner. This is the place. pumpkin spice or apple cider, puzzles or board games. I don't have anyone to play with, but I enjoy making them and drawing them and making up my own. So ladies, now that you've seen that, you can go back to work, and I will either read to you or talk to you about something. Now, last time I talked about dressing for happiness, and I think in general, for the home especially, we tend to let go or let down, but I think it should be just as pretty as if someone was going to see us. So dress for yourself and make yourself happy. We do have clothes in our closets, especially those of us who are vital, and it's okay to put them on and wear them and feel silly at first, but you can get used to it. And I think in general for clothing for the home, that I find for myself, it needs to match my mood and my expectations and my feeling for life that day. That I don't know if anyone identifies with that or not. But I used to go to the fabric stores, and when I looked at fabric, I would think to myself, oh, that looks like a sunny day on the, on the veranda. That looks like a lovely rainy day on the porch or something. It would have a print and a color that evoked a feeling or a mood. And a lot of people don't see it that way, but you learn to see things more as you get older. You learn to see things with your heart, and you learn to see things more with what it can do for you and others when you wear it. If it makes you feel good, if it makes you happy, if it makes you smile, you want to wear it, and it helps you to be kind to other people and to think of others. And it's very hard to explain. It's very personal. Everybody has their own way of dressing and their own likes and dislikes regarding pattern and color. And so take an appreciation pause, even if all you're appreciating is the fact that you're sitting up and you're alive, and you're having your beverage, cup of tea, whatever, and try to relax. Now, I tried an experiment today regarding relaxing, and I've read to you out of several books for homemakers that the importance of the homemaker to relax at work or play. Everything has a holiday mood if you will let it. Don't be all stiff and upset and anxious until your holiday. Take that feeling that you got on holidays, that carefree, burdenless freedom, and carry it into your home, but still do your work. And do it as though you are somewhere working on a holiday and enjoying it. And so take an appreciation pause and learn to relax. And one of the experiments I'm doing today is I'm not paying any attention to the clock, no attention to the time, because I noticed yesterday when I had slept a little later than usual how frustrated I was that I was behind. Well, we're not doing that anymore, and we're not going to use the word deadline. Isn't that awful? When did we first hear that? Deadline? That sounds ominous. Let's not use that. I'm not going to use the clock. I'm going to pretend that I'm on an old homestead and there's no clock. And I have to just work at something that I'm interested in until I'm not interested anymore, and quit when I feel like it, and quit rushing through everything. Now, I can understand if you've got a family around you all the time or got grandkids coming, you do have to be a little more tense in order to get things accomplished. But today I'm talking about someone who's snowed in. So I decided today, instead of making that schedule that puts me hour by hour, I am going to ignore it all and be happy. I'm going to dress happy and I'm going to be happy. So I'm walking through the house, putting things away, and going through the archives and trying to do a few other things, catching up on correspondence. I love writing to all the descendants and writing something special for each one. And I try to have a place, or a place that's all set out, that's got a nice pen, got some paper, and got all my things that I will need, so I won't have to keep getting up and hunting for envelopes or something. So that is what I like to do, but I try not to pay attention to the time. Where did we learn to be worried about the time? At school, probably. where you had to get an assignment done in time, or you had to be finished. Remember these tests they used to give us, and when they would say, put your pencils down, pick your pencils up, and they had us so regulated and regimented. And some of that worry stuck into some of us for the rest of our lives. It's really a crime, don't you think? And, well, we must be on time for church, or we must be on time for meals because other people depend on us. There's a lot at home that we brought into our system of anxiety that we don't need to. So today I'm ignoring the clock. And I will report later. I've got my little book that I write things in, and I'll report later about the experiment and see what it would be like. You know, I've told you time and time again that children deserve a happy, carefree existence at home, a happy, carefree childhood. That's one reason that we homeschooled them, is for that happy, carefree childhood. Let's give it back to ourselves, too, and see if we can have some. We are afraid to be happy because we think that it will make us irresponsible, or that it will make us not alert. But you can learn to level your happiness with your responsibility and learn to be at ease. I will read you this again about how pleasant words, let me see where that was. It was pleasant words. Well, it was somewhere in the scriptures, and it was about pleasant words. It was Ephesians 5:30. Pleasant words are health to the body. And I had read to you about how pleasant thinking went along with the way the body functions and adds to the body, but negative thinking and resentment and things like that go against proper bodily functions. And I did not mean to imply that if you'd had an injury that, or you had caught an illness from someone, that was a result of not being positive or pleasant, because that's a totally different circumstances. But in general, we could be a lot more healthy with good thinking. And people who are injured, who are recovering from illness, do better when they are in a cheerful atmosphere. And so I want to continue talking to you about this because I wanted to read it again. And I know that I don't label my videos too well, so you'd have to go back and read the one from last time, or listen to the one from last time. So I'll save you the time, and I will read it again, what I wrote about relaxation and health. Relaxation promotes health, and whereas tension deters it. Now, I'm not talking about someone who's had a terrible injury or who has caught an illness or disease from someone. But if they have and they're recovering, you're best recovered by not being tense. And that when our children were sick, or when we were sick when we were growing up, our parents made sure we were comfortable, we had clean bedding, they brought us things to do, and whatever we could keep down to eat, and they just made it not so terrorizing, and so that we didn't have the fear connected to it, or the worry, or the anxiety. So it says, while doing work which makes you tense, how can you make yourself relax? Well, you know, I get that way. I have to do something at home, and then my back starts to feel really tense, and it's because of my thoughts. I've got to get this job done. And so it says the mind controls the body, making it tense or relaxed. Well, that's true. If you have not had some kind of injury or something like that, the mind controls the body, making it tense or relaxed. And I saw that verse. Pleasant words are health to the body. And I thought how much nicer it is when you're talking to someone and they're kind and they're pleasant, and how awful you feel when you've been listening to someone who is down on life and who's negative and who doesn't think anything is ever going to turn out well. That's a sad thing, but if you can learn not to absorb their depression, that would be good. Doesn't always work that way, but let me read more to you. Wholesome attitudes arise from virtues such as faith, hope. And these days, people mock you if you've got that. They'll say, oh, you're just guilty of hope. I mean, you're giving people the idea something nice is going to happen, and it never is, you know. But we have a personal faith and a personal hope, and they don't need to know. People don't need to know what we want to happen. They don't need to know what we're hoping for. Oftentimes, if you're around someone who's kind of devious, they find out what you want or what you hope for. I'll make sure that it doesn't happen. Make sure that you're disappointed. And other attitudes such as optimism, love, kindness, cheerfulness, sympathy, forgiveness, and enthusiasm. These pleasant attitudes harmonize with body functions and invigorate the body, promoting good health. It's so true. And you can recover a lot faster if you're not feeling well. I'm going to just stop there and show you something. I wasn't feeling well the last couple of days. I just could not seem to shake it. And I seem to have lost the tea that I was going to show you, but it was by Twinings, and it was called adaptogen, and it was peppermint and a few other things. And someone had told me that if they got to where they didn't feel well, and they just couldn't seem to get up from it, rise up from it, or recover from it, and they were just kind of in a malaise, that they had taken that. And what that adaptogen tea does is it kind of searches out where you're hurting or where you're ill, and you just makes you feel better. And I did drink some of it, and I got up and I started doing things, and I started sweeping things, and a little while later I think, well, hey, I feel better. I didn't even notice. It just left my mind that I had not felt well. And I'll put a picture of it on the blog so you can go and see what it is. I ordered mine, but sometimes your local grocery store will have it. So this other one is, this is so good about, you know, being positive. But let me tell you the opposite here. And that's why we have to guide our children into good thinking. Not that we want to minimize their problems. We want to look at them and see if we can do something about it, but also reassure them that it's best to think on the bright side of things. So like Roger told Molly, you know, it's always best to think on the good side of a person and not to misjudge them. But unwholesome attitudes arise from defects of character, such as worry, fear, anxiety, pessimism, hate, resentments, impatience, envy, or anger. Any negative mental attitude has a detrimental effect on the health. You see, it's like Brian Kozlowski said in his book, The Jane Austen Diet. He had a chapter called The Mind-Body Connection, which was just excellent. And its destructive influence is carried through the nervous system to the entire body. And you know where the ultimate guide to self-care and to health is in the Word of God, because it's always been here and it's always through here. And if you look up the word health and go through, there'll be a whole thread of things that are health to the body and health to the bones and health to this and health to that. And it all is connected to thinking. It's connected to doing well, doing right, and thinking right. And if people could just connect that instead of sitting around waiting waiting for things to change in the world, that would be better. And I also think that you've got to be careful to not think that just because you are thinking on the good side of things, that things will improve, because there may be things in your own life that you would be better off trying to improve than trying to fix the world or everybody else. Now, this is the ultimate guide to life and living. And I ran across a verse here, so I'll read this to you while you're doing something more important. And it says, because it tells us what to think and what to do. Look carefully how you walk. Now, they use walk in the Bible. Words like walk and talk and sit and stand are used as figures of speech to represent a spiritual attitude too. So it says, be careful how you walk. It's not well, of course, we do need to be careful how we walk so that we don't trip, but that's all spiritual in here. So let me read it. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time. You know, that is what we do at home. This is what we're trying to do at home, is to think good thoughts, be wise with our time, and I don't mean like watching the clock, but be wise with your life, be wise with your time, and do as well as you can. It also instructs us to be quiet, to mind our own business. We don't have to talk about everything that we're doing to someone else, especially those who might, there are always those out there who have a little bit of jealousy over the homemaker and what she's doing because she's happy and she's content. She doesn't seem to be as stressed or working as hard as they are. And so we have to be very careful to be quiet about what we're doing, and unless you're raising children, you're going to have to tell them. I always wanted my children to know my mind, to know my life, we spoke to each other with our hearts, and we want that because they're our future social life. And I'll just continue with a little bit more here. So you take an appreciation pause, and I didn't tell you to get up and get dressed. I know that's if you're not feeling well, especially, or if you're alone, sometimes that might take a little time. There have been days when I thought I did pretty good because I got the check off the box that said get dressed. And I thought, there were days too when I thought I had several things on my list, and I'd look at the clock and it would say, oh, it's 4 o'clock, it's getting dark, I might as well not do this. But I changed that, and I said, if it takes me the rest of the day and the rest of the evening, I'm going to get that bed made. It was on my list, and even if I made it several minutes before someone had to get in it, I did it for my mind. I did it for my heart and for God. I did it because my problem is I've got to get rid of this attitude. There's no use doing it if you can't do it on time, and there's no use doing it if you can't do it a certain way. I decided if it was on my list, I was going to do it. And I felt so much better doing that. So relax by not looking at the clock and work at something as long as you feel like doing it. Also ask God to clear your mind. I read something about thoughts and health and how you can become so jumbled, especially if you have some kind of clutter in your house. It's amazing how clearing out some clutter somewhere can make you feel so good, whether you're sorting a bunch of papers or going through a little drawer in your kitchen. And ask God for His aid and in your homemaking. And don't just leave it up to all your own skills. Some of you might not have don't think you have any homemaking skills, but live the best you can. I was thinking the other day how we had decided a long time ago in our family that we needed to live well on our income, and we wanted to have nice bedding and towels and all the supplies we needed and the best food. How are we going to do that? Well, one of the things that we took out of our lives, especially me, was too much travel. The Bible talks about travel as one who goes into poverty, so travel turns someone into a pauper or something like that. It uses up all your money and you get nothing for it, because you're paying for accommodation, which you never see again. You don't get to take home anything. And so we turned our home into the luxury hotel that we wanted to go to. And so I always keep it up like it's an inn. And I look at it differently. If I come in the door one day, oh, I'm now in a cabin in the woods in the winter. Oh, I'm now in a resort somewhere. And I change things a lot too. I'll change furniture around. I'll change other things around. And just to give it a different feeling, atmosphere. And so to be able to afford to live well on your income, you might consider staying home if possible, because leaving your house every day or often can cost money. and the expense, the expenses go up. I wanted to say something about sewing today. I know not all of you sew, but surely you know how to thread a needle and stitch something. I was thinking the other day how excited I was when I was younger to learn to sew. And I started out by watching my mother and grandmother, her mother, take an old coat and lay a child's dress on it and cut it out. They just traced around it with chalk, and then they cut it out and sewed it again. I couldn't believe it. It was just beautiful, and I wore that coat for a long time. They even made the lining fit. I don't know how they did it, and these women did not even have a sewing machine. They may have had a treadle, but I think the thing that sticks in my mind more is how they made something by laying something on top of it and cutting around it, and it worked. It still had the collar on it and everything. Just amazing. I was only 6 years old, and I didn't remember to think, how did you do that? I did watch some of it. And after that, I started, this was before patterns, before I knew about patterns. And if I wanted something, I would trace around it and cut it out, and then I could have it. And I discovered you could make anything. You could make, let me see, I had a list here. You could sew shoes. They were more like slippers, but similar to shoes. You could sew shoes, socks. You could sew underclothes. You could sew hats. I have seen many sewn things. They're so interesting. Children's little houses and tents that they can fold up and put away or put back out and use. There were so many things that you could sew that my idea was, if I could sew, I would never have to do without anything. In fact, back in the 1980s, there was a pattern company in, I believe it was Portland, Oregon, that had Daisy Kingdom. And I remember one year they had fabric that went with their company and all their patterns. And they were selling something to make a little child's chair to sit in that was real comfortable, and they sold the fabric to go on it, and it was all made out of foam and stuffing. But that was so clever that they could do so much. So it is possible if you can have some kind of a skill. Even if you don't sew, you can do a lot by rolling up blankets and fabrics, and you don't even have to sew much of the time when you want to make something or do something. You can do a lot. And I'm really interested in no-sew fabrics. No-sew projects are fun to me and challenging. Now, the man that dropped by to get some cans and bottles and things like that, he told our family of his story about how he had had a heart attack and how he had taken care of himself. And he said that he noticed during that time when everyone was, quote, shut down, that there were two kinds of people. There was one kind that would sit and wait it out to see if things would get better and do nothing with themselves. But he had gotten sick, and he decided that he was going to get up and do something, and he walked. And he restored his health to almost perfect. And he said there are two kinds of people, those that sit and wait for things to get better, and those that use the problem as fuel, as determination. So this is the way it is with the homeschooler, with the homemaker. We want to teach our children to be possibility thinkers and to think of how they would use something. I have often saved some empty, like those round boxes that oats or raisins come in, or some kind of interestingly shaped box, even your spaghetti box. If you're buying things in boxes, those can be saved, and things can be done with them. And I always like to challenge my descendants when we're together. I save a couple of them, and I have a contest and ask them what they could do with it. Now, I also wanted to talk about where your real power of influence and success is. I was thinking about this the other day because I had been going through Linda Lichter's book, Simple Social Graces, and noticing how polite she described the Victorians on how distinct their society was, and there were certain things that would define a real lady or a real noble gentleman was their kindness and their courtesy. And I thought about it when I was reading it, that manners is where there is real protection, and there's real power, and there's real success. If you can be well-mannered and teach your children to be real well-mannered, they have a window to many different things, window to the world, you might say. And so if you can learn these not obvious manners, but manners that just portray you as someone who will listen and understand, or someone who is smart enough to wait and hear everything before they jump in, and just all the little avoiding hasty, sharp replies, that can really be off-putting, can it? Hasty, sharp replies. And I think it's really important to focus on manners because, when we were growing up, it was more on knowledge and intelligence. But it's not very intelligent if a very knowledgeable person who's book smart can't be people smart, can't be manners smart. I think that's what's really important. And one of the most endearing phrases a person can learn that shows that he's not too good for ordinary things is to say, when he hears something in a conversation and he's included in the conversation, to say, "That's very interesting. I'm glad to know that," or "I didn't know that." We're taught not to say that, aren't we? We're taught to make others think that we're not ignorant. So, but that is one of the nicest things. Or if you make a mistake, you say, "I'll try not to let that happen again." Not to say that it won't, but you own up to it and you are polite about it and you don't get angry. We talk about people towards the end of this lesson, and that's what I wanted to cover. The other thing, if I want to go more into courtesy, I'll read some of the things that I've written down here. And for example, I think the parent needs to be the example in courtesy and what I would say, sympathy and empathy. And you get a day like this where you can't even open the door, you can't go outside, and what would you like to do? And the children can get very, very sad because it's the mood is low. There's the air is different, and the light is different, and you're shut in, and you feel it in the quietness. You can hear it. There's no bustle outside. There's no cars going by. One of the things that we did that was is to say to them, if you could do what you wanted to do, if you could go where you wanted to go, what would it be? And let's see if we can pretend or make it like that. Here, we'll create that kind of adventure for you here in the house. And they scramble about trying to do things, and they'll say, "Oh, we're," to the other child, "Johnny, we're going on a trip." And they go pack their little bags, and then we would go on our trip, and we'd have our stop for a snack, and we would read stories, and we would have our shopping. Children would get all their things out, their books, their toys and things. We would sell them to each other, and just these things. If you wanted to be something, and you could do that now that you're vital. If you want to be something, what would it be? If you could, what if you wanted to be a fashion designer? Well, let's just try it. Get yourself a piece of paper and start drawing, and start picking out some things, and make yourself a runway on paper, and do fashions for every season and occasion. If you wanted to do something, if you really could do it, what would it be? And so also teach your children, and you learn your manners too, is be careful how you answer. Don't answer hasty, sharp, rude replies. Don't come in at the end of a sentence and knock everybody's ideas off. And then at the end of the day, write in your little journal, "Today I taught the children to be careful how they answer." I taught the children to be, so that you have a record of it, and that one day, and you can read it to them. You can read them your little diary at night as to what you all did that day and what you thought, what you were trying to do, so that they know what their mother is, what her goals are, and they can share her dreams, and they can help her live her dreams as she helps them. And I think that's just such a great idea. It's not too late for any of us to do that, even if there is no one there. But today I read about such and such, or something like that. But do write it down. So another thing is in serving food. I just wanted to compare this. First of all, don't throw things back in someone's face. Let's say someone served you some food. There was nothing wrong with it, and someone picked it up and threw it back at the server's face. Now, wouldn't that be ridiculous? That'd just be awful. But some people do this in conversation, or they will learn something about someone's likes or dislikes, or fears. You know, someone's afraid of, let's say, thunder, and someone decides they're just going to throw that in their face. That is very rude. That's not right at all, to throw things back in someone's face. Maybe someone went to you for sympathy because you had a problem with something, or you couldn't quite put something together, and they will remind you later on, you never could put that together. You know, let's be careful and teach our children to be careful not to throw things in people's faces. People are still doing it. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. But avoid hasty, sharp replies. Don't throw things back in someone's face. Don't exchange someone else's happiness for your own. And I found this in Emma when she was engaged to Mr. Knightley. And she said, I can't leave my father alone. And he said, well, he can come and live with us, or we can live at Hartfield, because I cannot have my own happiness at the expense of your father's. We have to remember that. Don't gloat over our own happiness. And so when the children are together at home, or you're with friends, if you know that you have a certain happiness, but it's going to somehow deplete somebody else's happiness, let's be careful about that. You know, sometimes we need to teach our children when they're growing up, look, now when you leave home, you're probably going to have a new house. Everything's going to be new. You're going to have all those lovely wedding presents. Don't look back down at your parents and say that they're inferior. Look at me. I have a house. I've had better success than my parents. I have all these new things. Do not take your own happiness at the expense of someone else's happiness. Let's be modest in what we say and what we do. We also need to be careful not to create sadness, worry, resentment, or anything like that in other people. And I understand you can go overboard with that, but for the most part, if you just pay attention to your personal manners, you don't have to worry about it. Now, ladies, I have a little bit of time left. I'm trying to decide what I want to read to you. I have wives and daughters here, and I have, let me see if I marked the right place here. I did want to read something out of it to you. Oh yes, this was about manners, because it's when Mr. Gibson introduces Molly to her future stepsister, or maybe she already is, maybe he's already married. Okay, and it was very simple, and it is something that we need to relearn how to do, because we get confused about this, making an introduction. Most of us end up introducing ourselves, and I've read in so many old etiquette books, new etiquette books, you don't just go up to somebody and say, hi, I'm, you know, but we have to, because no one's introducing us anymore. The best thing I think to do is say, would you get your mother or get your father to introduce you to someone, or get someone else to introduce you. But most people don't know how to do it anymore. But this is what he did. She settled herself to work again, and Molly, after some consideration, gave up her own grief and employed herself in looking out the downstairs window which commanded the approach from town. They're looking for Cynthia's arriving on a coach. "Here she is! Here she is!" cried Molly at last. Her father was walking by the side of a tall young lady. William the gardener was wheeling along a great cargo of baggage. Molly flew into the front door and had it wide open to admit the newcomer some time before she arrived. Isn't that nice? That's so exciting. I've done that before because I felt like, oh, they're here, and I opened the door and ran out. And to some people, that just looks a little extra. They call us extra in England. Did you know that? But because we live as we feel. Well, now, this is Mr. Gibson. Here's what he says. "Well, here she is. Molly, this is Cynthia. Cynthia, Molly. You're to be sisters, you know." Okay, so let's see what he did here. The person that you're with is the one that you say their name first. You're in a house, you're with your daughter, so you say, "Lily Beth, this is Jane." Jane is the newcomer. Now, so apparently this is how they did it. Now, I've seen etiquette books where it's written backwards. I could never figure it out, so this is how we'll do it. The person that you're with right now is the one you say, like he said, "Molly, this is Cynthia." Cynthia, Molly. So Cynthia, the visitor, the one that's just entered, her name is spoken second. But really, when you look at how it works, they're honoring the newcomer. Molly, this is Cynthia. The focus is on the newcomer. Cynthia, Molly. But so the focus, Molly, this is Cynthia. So you're focusing on the newcomer. And then he made a little connection sentence that kind of connected why they're there. You're to be sisters, you know. So you would make a connection like, we have a mutual friend, or this is the first time she's been here. You think of something to say. You might want to role play this at home. You can play like, and you can pretend that your visitor. Have so much fun with this at home with your loved ones and with your homeschooling. That's one reason we like to homeschool, because we can do things like this and relate. Now, ladies, I have no further words for you except for this. And I don't have any homework for you except to take an appreciation break and to thank God for something throughout the day. It's better for your mind. And to finish what's on your list, even if it's not on time. You know, sometimes I would not even get the beds made until the kids were ready to get in it. And I'd say, well, just hold on. I'm going to make your bed first before you go in. And oh, they appreciated it so much. And so I just wanted to remind you of something. And that is, do not ever imagine that you're beyond the reach of the Good Shepherd. You know, Christ is portrayed as the Good Shepherd. He sees us. He hears us. Every good desire of ours is known to him. Everything you think and want and admire and long for, he knows. He knows every longing you have for better things. He sees and hears us as if there were no other child in the world. And I think whoever wrote that saying, I don't know who it was, just said it perfectly. And of course, it's in the scriptures that talk about how he understands and cares. But you have to do your part and go to him. And if you are having any challenges at home, that's the first thing you should do instead of at last. Always go to God at first instead of at last. So ladies, I hope that you'll stay close to Christ. I thank you so much for coming. Congratulations for finishing the video. You may pause it at any time. And you don't have to sit and listen to all of it at once. It'll always go back to where you left off. And thank you so much for your wonderful, thoughtful comments last time. I want to read some of the comments in a future video and discuss them because they're really meaningful to me. And I really love that you come and comment and listen. And And I hope to be, I always say I hope to be here more often, but I keep waiting till all the dishes are done, all the laundry is done, the floor is swept, the the letters are caught up, the mail, or I'm waiting until I get younger or more fit or smarter, and it just doesn't happen. So I have to block it all out. I have to block out the whole manse and sit here to talk to you because I do appreciate it so much that if you weren't here, I would not come. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.